This week we have another double Parsha with the Parshas of Matos and Massei, which are the 42nd and 43rd Parshas of the Torah and the 9th and 10th and final Parshas or Torah portions in the book of Bamidbar, which is the 4th book of the Torah. It's kind of hard to believe that we are already at the conclusion of the 4th book of the Torah. And in this week's Parsha, we go through a few different topics. At the beginning of the Parsha, we have vow annulments, essentially if people sort of make promises to God, what are the circumstances under which those vows could be annulled. We then move on to the division of the spoils or bounty from the wars with Midian. After we won the wars with Midian, we had a lot of riches, and this week's Parsha goes through the division of what happened to those different riches, who got to keep them, what percentages they got to keep, etc., etc. We then move on to sort of the division of the land of Israel, in the sense that we are given the borders of the biblical land of Israel. So it says, the land's going to go from this point to this point, and so on and so forth, which is really a cool thing because the Jews are finally getting to see what they're going to be able to call home after traveling in the desert for 40 years. And speaking of traveling in the desert for 40 years, we are given the 42 sort of destinations that the Jewish people went, or 42 travel legs that the Jewish people had to travel during their time in the desert. So essentially it says, the Jewish people journeyed from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And it's 42 different sort of legs of their journey. And what's amazing about it to me is, the Jewish people knew they were going to the land of Israel, but they had no idea how many sort of stops were going to be along the way, how many different journeys they were going to have to take, that it was going to take them 40 years because of the sort of the Jewish people weren't ready, and with the sin of the golden calf, that they were punished to spend 40 years in the desert instead of just getting to Israel right away after leaving Egypt. But it's a really valuable lesson in some ways, sort of all the different points they had to get to towards their goal of entering the land of Israel. And, for the Jews during their time, they had highs, like receiving the 10 Commandments, receiving the Torah, leaving Egypt. They had a lot of highs, but they also had lows, which were spiritual low points for the Jewish people. All of those different events that occurred on their way, again, to the land of Israel and to that end goal. In our own lives, we will make a lot of goals. We're going to make a lot of goals, and there's going to be a lot of points, some of them high, some of them low, some of them known, some of them unexpected, on our way to achieving that goal. Let's say we make a fitness goal. It would be amazing if we could just wake up and have the muscles that we wanted. But realistically, as we know, if we want to achieve a certain physical status, we have to work for it. We have to, be at the gym. We have to be doing our weights. We have to do, be eating right and sleeping and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different factors, and some days we're going to be more motivated, and some days we're going to be less motivated, and there are going to be setbacks. But it's going to take a lot of hard work to get to that goal. Or maybe you want to learn a language. Again, it would be amazing if you could just wake up and know the language because you sort of set that intention in your mind. But realistically, it takes years of studying and practice, and you're going to learn the concept and forget it, and you're going to learn a concept again and forget it again, and it's going to take a whole lot of different steps in order to learn that language. And with the Jewish people, they were persistent, at least. They had these highs and they had these lows, but they kept going. They kept going towards their goal of entering the land of Israel. And that was sort of always their goal and always their mindset, that they were going to do that. And that's something that we should learn for ourselves. When we're going to set goals, when we're going to set these intentions, we are going to have ups and downs. We are going to have highs and lows. We are going to have points where it's going to seem impossible to achieve, but we shouldn't lose sight of those goals. If they are important to us, if there's something we really want to achieve, then we should recognize that it's going to be a long journey. The Jewish people, this goal was something they wanted, a lot of them, for a big percentage of their life. 40 years, it's a long time. So for us, it's okay to set long-term goals. It's okay to set goals that are going to take a long time to get to. And even if initially the Jewish people thought they were going to be in the desert just a short period of time, and then it ended up being 40 years, if we set a goal and we think it's going to take a certain timeline and then it takes a lot longer, that's okay. We can learn that from the Jewish people in the desert, that yes, it took them longer, but yet they still got to the same end goal. And so I hope that we can all keep that in mind with our sort of goal setting, to use the Jewish people as an example for their perseverance and for continuing to go after their goals. And I wish you all a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom.